Canada Day long weekend. Thanks for coming down this afternoon. So I got a couple files on the go right now, and we'll talk about, and then we'll have any questions afterwards. So our Victoria Police detectives are investigating a bank robbery that happened last Thursday at about 10 a.m. It happened at the Bank of Montreal on the 1200 block of Douglas Street. So a suspect approached one of the tellers and demanded money. He indicated he had a weapon, but didn't produce one at the time. He received an undisclosed amount of money before he fled on foot. I have suspect information. He's a white male in his early 30s. He's approximately 5'8", and he's heavy set. He has short, dark hair, possibly shaved, with some facial stubble. And at the time of the robbery, he was wearing a distinct Detroit Tigers baseball cap. Anyone with information is asked to contact Detective Laurie Beauvais at 250-995-7256 or Detective Roger DePass at 250-995-7372 or at Crime Stoppers, as always, at 1-800-222-TIPS 8477. All right, last week, our Focus Enforcement Team officers executed a search warrant along with patrol members in the 400 block of Catherine Street. So Saturday afternoon at about 2 p.m., a search warrant was executed in that apartment building in Catherine Street. Inside, we located 1 pound of dried marijuana and $825 cash inside the suite. So a pound of marijuana on the street right now goes for about $2,500. During the search, we also found an assortment of prescription pills, and we were able to arrest and charge, or recommend charges against a 49-year-old Victorian man at the time. So we're recommending one charge of possession for the purpose of trafficking. He was brought back to the station and released on a promise to appear for August 11th, 2011. Now the problem was in a noted problem area, and we've been working on that area for a while. We received information that the man was selling drugs, and the suspicions were confirmed when our officers went to the door and actually noted a strong smell of marijuana coming from the inside. So once again, this just shows how the community is speaking out against drug activity in their neighborhood, because that's where we're getting these tips and information from. So they certainly do help us.
So was the man at home when the officers arrived?
Yes, he was.
Is that like right across from 55 Bay? Where's 400?
I think it's in that junction.
Okay,
Yeah.
And so it was kind of ongoing concerns from the public that there was drug activity in the area in general?
Yeah, there was drug activity in the area, and then we got information that narrowed that search down for us, and again, through the community. So, not only was Canada Day busy for us downtown, but our patrol shift was very busy as well. We talked about the calls for service, having over 260 calls for service, and one of those was a fight on Pandora Avenue involving a machete and a bicycle chain. A 29-year-old Victorian man is arrested, and we recovered a machete after a fight in the 800 block of Pandora Avenue. So we were dispatched to the call about 4:45 p.m. on Canada Day about these two men fighting. One man was wielding a bike chain and another a machete. The witnesses described that the 36-year-old Saanich man was struck in the side of the head with a machete, but thankfully was struck with the butt end. He had armed himself in self-defense with a bike chain and began fighting with the other individual. The man with the machete fled prior to our arrival, but was arrested a short distance away. When we got to him, he had already thrown the weapon away, but we were able to recover it not far away from him. He's facing a charge of assault and possession of a weapon dangerous to the public. He was released on a promise to appear for August 11th. The victim sustained a cut and some swelling to his face, but refused to cooperate with police. The victim was intoxicated, and both men are well known to us.
What kind of damage did the bike chain inflict?
Don't think he got a shot off with it. So Victoria Police Detective Division didn't have to go too far to look into this file. We had a drunk who booked himself into jail on Canada Day. So like I said, Canada Day, very busy night. We had 85 people who spent the night in cells. 80 of those were for public intoxication, including this fellow. So we almost had to turn on the no vacancy light, but that didn't prevent this one man from trying to make reservations with us. Just after 10 p.m., outside of the station, our detectives were on the second floor and noticed a man relieving himself in the flower garden by the main entrance of headquarters. They yelled down to the man to move along and suggested he not urinate on the police department anymore. Now, not being happy at being interrupted, the man yelled back at the officers and challenged them to a fight. At the same time, unfortunately for this fellow, a patrol car was pulling out of the station and up the ramp. The man staggered down the sidewalk and right to our patrol officers. A short trip back down the ramp where he spent the night in cells. A 23-year-old Lake Cowichan man was issued a violation ticket, and he was one of 55 people arrested who hailed from outside VicPD jurisdiction that night. You can laugh, it's okay, it's supposed to be a funny story. It's a funny story. Now, does that go in our concluded files? Like, we count that?
Check it, all that good stuff for his column.
The guys are on the second floor who yelled at?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was interesting. I got an email just after that because we were still here for filling up Canada Day there. So one of our officers last Tuesday dove into the Gorge waterway to save an overturned kayaker. So one of our officers likely saved this 55-year-old Victorian man from drowning in the Gorge waterway. About 3 p.m. in the afternoon, Sergeant Fraser drove to the Gorge to rescue an overturned kayaker. The man was kayaking with his wife on the Gorge waterway at the time. He lost control and tipped over in the strong current at the Telecom Bridge. Now he was caught in the fast-moving back eddies and was being spun in circles and unable to get out. He did have a small life jacket and desperately hung on to the side of his kayak. When Sergeant Fraser arrived, this fellow had already been in the water for close to half an hour. He was losing strength and told the officers he couldn't hang on much longer. At this time, Sergeant Fraser made the decision to dive in and rescue the man. He swam out to the fellow and pulled him to shore. This man was treated by paramedics, but was not hospitalized.
What time of day was this?
3 p.m.
Sorry.
First name, Sergeant Fraser.
Yeah.
Brad.
Brad?
Brad, yeah.
And then Z-I-E-R?
Fraser.
Okay.
Was there, what kind of, there was drowning concerns and anything else? Was it just that he was tired?
Yeah, that was,
Yeah.
like he said, he couldn't go anywhere else. He was just hanging on by the time our officers got there. Right? The water is still very cold, the currents are very fast, and he's holding on to this giant pontoon and it's waving him around in there.
The wife's okay then?
Yes. I don't think she was in, there was 2 separate kayaks.
Correct.
Yeah.
I was there.
So the chief offered a comment on this. The chief stated, "Our officers put themselves at risk every day, and in this incident of self-sacrifice helped to prevent a tragic outcome. I'm very proud of the actions of Sergeant Fraser and the commitment of all our officers to public safety."
Was this one called in by a witness, or how did he show up there?
You know, I don't know. I don't know if it was witness or, oh, it was, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
There's a lady walking along the gorge who saw it all happen and
Okay.
called 911.
Didn't have that in the file, so. All right, any questions about the weekend or anything that happened? Nice and short.
What other kind of calls did you guys deal with on Canada Day? Like the other 5, for example, who went into cells?
Some assault, like, you know, like you'd have down in Canada Day, right? A couple people fighting. I think of mischief, and I can't recall all 5 of them, but yeah. but a lot, mostly just drunk people being.
Was there any property damage in Canada Day?
You know, I'd heard one call about either they attempted to smash a window or a window was smashed, but I can't recall what the outcome of that was. But I know we did arrest somebody sort of in the process of doing that, but I don't.
Maybe it was a skateboarder trying to put a skateboard through a window or something.
Yeah, I don't know if that actually happened or not, like if he actually got through or not, but I know something happened around that, right?
Did you guys deal with house parties at all?
Yeah, there were pardon me, there were lots of house parties, lots of calls for disturbances of that sort as well. So it wasn't just the downtown core that was really busy. Like the patrol shift was just hopping all night, house parties and all different sorts of stuff.
Was this, the number that you guys gave us in terms of calls that were generated, is that the highest number in like a 24-hour period ever?
That wasn't 24 hours.
Oh, okay.
262 calls, I think it was in 11 and a half hours. It was 6 o'clock at night to 5:30 in the morning.
Okay. And is that kind of the busiest then 12-hour period ever?
I think it is the busiest time we've ever had. Like we usually do about 140 calls in a 24-hour period on a typically busy Friday night. And this is half that time and almost double the calls.
And so, and what is referred to as a call in this case? Is it any kind of report that comes into you guys?
Yeah, if you call into us, that's counted as a call. If I am walking along the street and I see somebody drunk and I make an arrest, that's counted as a call for service as well. So those all get compiled at the end of the night.
Which I think that's just calls for service, not even just the calls coming in, because lots of the calls get sort of filtered.
Yeah.
But calls that members are dispatched to or that members respond to.
Good point.
And
Thank you,
that's bad
Inspector.
calls and private calls.
Yeah.
And yet there were no major incidents?
No, which was nice. Very busy, we were out there. And the thing is, we had officers out on the ground much earlier this year. And we were out at 3 o'clock. We were pouring beer out at 3 o'clock. We were arresting people at 3 o'clock. So it wasn't like we had this big lag time where, people could get liquored up before officers hit the ground late in the evening. It was right off the hop in the afternoon.
And the release you sent out didn't have the number of violation tickets that you guys had issued. Any chance we'll get that?
Yeah, we can get it for you, but we're still working on it.
Okay.
Everybody's got to submit them yet and get them counted. And
Can we get a ballpark? Or in like the hundreds?
there'll be hundreds.
Hundreds.
There'll be hundreds of tickets, yeah.
One officer felled 2 books alone, which is 50 tickets.
He pre-filled all the tickets for consumption in the public place, so that when people walked up that were consuming, you could just get their name filled on the top part, and you already have a ticket written.
There's one side of the screen too, though. Like it seemed like a lot of people had figured out that I can't bring liquor downtown, so I'm going to go to Beacon Hill Park and.
Yeah, and we were out in Beacon Hill.
Yeah.
We were going through all the parks, and what was really nice too is, West Shore Saanich, Central Saanich, Oak Bay, they went through all their parks as well, and that really helped us. Because then they're filtering at that far level. We're getting people coming in on the buses, and if they're intoxicated, then we're dealing with them when they get off the bus or at the road stops. Then they still have to pass 2 other barriers to get down to the Inner Harbor. So it's almost 4 different levels.
How frustrating was it for the police to deal with all the tourists, so to speak, standing around while you guys are trying to move people out of the downtown, all these people on the sides with their phones, with their cameras and stuff like that?
Well, it is frustrating for us. We're trying to do a job, make sure everybody's safe, make sure that everybody gets home. But that's just part of the job, right? You walk out the doors and you're on film. It's just what we do, right?
There were tons of police downtown. What did you guys notice in terms of the reaction to the numbers of officers on the street?
It was overwhelmingly positive. We had so many comments come in through our emails, directly to officers on the ground, through our Twitter and Facebook accounts. It's been really, really overwhelming. I hadn't seen that before in the past where we got such thanks from so many different angles about it.
Do you think that's a Vancouver thing? Like, reaction?
You know what? I think what we're seeing is that it's a little bit of a change, and people are starting to be a little more proud of their communities. And we're out there serving the communities. We're part of the community, and I think people are just starting to take a little notice of that we're with you. We're here for you. We're working with you, so let's make it happen. So I think that's sort of the shift that we're seeing now.